My boss said I wasn't doing enough for a raise, so I stopped doing everything beyond my job description. Well, if I'm not doing enough, then let me show you what it would really look like if I didn't. The office fell apart. I've been working at a mid-sized company for 4 years. I started as a junior analyst and, over time, took on more responsibilities. Not because I was asked to, I just like being efficient. If someone needed help, I helped. If a new hire came in, I trained them. If a problem arose, I fixed it before my boss even knew about it. I was that employee who kept everything running smoothly, even when it wasn't my job. My boss, Michael, loved it. He always praised how I was essential to the team, how my dedication was inspiring. The kind of thing that sounds like recognition, but really means, let's exploit this guy as much as possible. And I truly believed all this effort would pay off. Then, the annual performance review came around. I sat down with Michael, full of confidence, ready to ask for a fair raise. I wasn't asking for anything crazy, just an adjustment that matched how much I contributed to the company. His response: "Look, you're a great employee, but I don't think you're doing enough to justify a raise." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh. "I know you help a lot, but officially, your role is X. We need to see a more direct impact before discussing a raise." I sat in silence for a moment, processing what he had just said. "So, all the extra work I do doesn't count?" He gave an awkward smile. "Of course it counts. But officially, that's not part of your job." That was the moment I realized how stupid I had been. I was basically working for free, carrying the team on my back, with no real recognition. And if all this extra effort wasn't enough, then I was going to stop. I stopped responding to emails outside my scope. I stopped helping coworkers with tasks that weren't mine. I stopped training new hires. After all, I wasn't doing enough, right? What could go wrong? For the first few days, no one noticed anything. After all, I was still there, sitting at my desk, doing exactly what was in my job description. But soon, the absence of my invisible work started piling up. The new hires were lost because, suddenly, no one was training them. Before, I would take them under my wing and teach them everything because Michael thought it was a natural part of the onboarding process. Now, they spent hours confused, slowing others down, making basic mistakes, and asking questions no one had the time or patience to answer. Deadlines started slipping. Before, if a colleague needed help, I'd handle it without fuss. But now, I just said, "Sorry, I'm busy," and went back to my own work. Emails piled up unanswered. The team always relied on me to organize information, relay updates, and keep everything in check. But now, meetings turned chaotic because, guess what? I was always the one keeping things structured. Slowly, cracks began to show. Within just 2 weeks, the office was in complete disarray. The company's biggest client called, furious that they hadn't received an essential report that was always delivered ahead of schedule. The problem? That report was something I did voluntarily. It wasn't officially my job, but I knew that if I didn't do it, no one else would. Now, without me, no one knew how to handle it. On that chaotic Tuesday, Michael showed up at my desk looking exhausted. "My name. Did you see that email about Client X's report?" I looked up from my screen, pretending to think. "Oh yeah, but that's not my responsibility, right?" He blinked, confused. "Well, you've always handled it before." "Yes, but officially, it's not part of my job." I gave a polite smile. I figured it was best to focus on what's actually in my job description since I'm not doing enough. His silence was priceless. He ran a hand over his face, clearly frustrated. "Okay, I get your point. But we need this report ASAP." I sighed. "Then you need to ask someone responsible for it." He looked around the office. "But no one else knows how to do it." Exactly. Michael realized the entire office depended on me way more than he had thought, but he still didn't want to admit it. Instead, he tried another approach. "Look, I think there was a misunderstanding in our conversation. You know we really value your work." "Oh, so now they valued it." "I'm happy to hear that, Michael," I interrupted, keeping my voice calm. "But during my review, you said I wasn't doing enough." He opened his mouth to respond, but I continued. "So, to avoid any confusion, I'm just following my job description to the letter. After all, I wouldn't want anyone to think I'm trying to do more than I should." His frustration was obvious. He knew he had messed up, but instead of admitting he was wrong, he just muttered something and walked back to his office. I knew it wouldn't take long for him to return, and when he did, I'd be ready. Michael lasted exactly 3 days before talking to me again. 3 days of pure office chaos. The team was lost without someone to organize the workflow. The new hires kept making mistakes because no one had properly trained them. Clients were complaining because the quick responses I used to send were now delayed or incomplete. And the team? Well, they started realizing just how much I had been keeping things together without them even noticing. On the morning of the 3rd day, Michael approached my desk with a completely different tone from our last conversation. He was trying to sound calm, but it was obvious he was barely holding back desperation. "My name, can we talk in my office?" I grabbed my coffee and followed him. As soon as he closed the door, he let out a heavy sigh. "Okay, I think things got a little out of hand." I crossed my arms and waited. "Look, I really appreciate all the work you do," he continued, choosing his words carefully. "The team relies on you a lot. I might have been a bit too strict in our last conversation." "Might have been." He cleared his throat and went on. "So, I'd like to discuss a possible salary adjustment. A recognition of your impact here." "Oh, now he wanted to talk." "Michael," I began, keeping my expression neutral. "I understand that things got difficult without the extra work I was doing. But officially, I was just following my responsibilities, right?" He nodded slowly. "So why should I go back to doing all that, if only now you decided to recognize my effort?" He was silent. He knew I was right. The truth is, he never would have given me a raise if the office hadn't fallen apart without me. He knew it. I knew it. And now, he knew that I knew it. So, I negotiated. I didn't just want a random raise. I wanted a title that matched everything I was already doing. After all, if the company couldn't function properly without me, then I deserved to be treated as a key player, with a salary and benefits to match. Michael tried to argue. But in the end, he had no choice. 2 weeks later, I got an official promotion with a raise much higher than what I had originally asked for. And the funniest part? Now they require every new hire to go through structured training, because they learned the hard way that invisible work makes all the difference. And me? Now, I do exactly what my job requires. Nothing more, nothing less. Because doing more than enough is only worth it when there's real recognition.